All right. Well, welcome to the Armory, a podcast where we like to equip the saints for the spiritual war around us. My name is Matt Holly. I'm always joined by my wife, Eyliana.
Hi.
Listen, this is a fun podcast. One, we took a little break from the podcast just to
Long.
kind of, we had a lot going on in life. We took a little pause. Most podcasts do that, by the way. We just didn't announce it. Normally podcasts are like,
And we do it a lot.
there are seasons and we take a break. We took a break, but we're in Chicago right now. We were on a little anniversary trip.
Yeah,
And
it
we
was
brought
so
our podcast
fun.
equipment and we're like, let's start the podcast again. It's been kind of fun. This is our 5th anniversary.
Yeah, that's
And
crazy,
we
actually.
decided to go to Chicago, not because we're like big city people, but because we met in Chicago.
Yeah.
And we were like, it's not that far from where we live. We could drive there, spend a couple nights, and we can enjoy some of the best food.
Mm-hmm.
I think Chicago, it's tough because we lived in Chicago and we lived in Dallas.
Yeah.
Both big food states or cities.
Yeah, I think, I'm going
There's
to be honest,
different things for
after
different
our
reasons.
trip, I think if I had to pick one food option to have, I would actually pick Dallas, I think.
Think so?
Yeah.
It's just it's different, right? Like what kind of food do you want? There's a lot of good
Yeah,
Mexican
so, like, my
food, a lot of
favorite-
good barbecue down in Texas.
My favorite restaurant in Chicago is Soul Taco.
Shout out to Soul Taco.
It's like a Korean barbecue bulgogi taco place.
Yeah.
But my favorite taco place in Dallas, taco joint, the brisket taco, I would choose that over Soul Taco.
The taco joint.
Yeah.
That place
That's
is good. And that was right next door
specifically their brisket. Like
next
it's like
door
a sweet brisket,
where we lived.
which is, I mean, very similar profiles. Bulgogi and then like a sweeter brisket beef taco.
Yeah.
But I would choose that.
So we came here for a couple days, had lots of good food,
Mm-hmm.
did lots of things. We did so much walking.
Yeah,
and
I'm like
biking.
sore sitting here.
So it was
from
kind
the
of,
bike
we just
ride,
had
I'm
fun.
sore.
We also paid like $140 to
Is that
rent.
how much it was? I think it was
Yes, it
120.
was. No, it was
140?
$140
Oh
something
my
dollars
gosh.
to rent little e-bikes in the city because we did not read the fine print on how much it would cost.
Yeah.
We thought it was going to cost us $40.
I actually beforehand did the math to figure out if it would be a better deal to get this day pass thing,
Yeah.
not realizing we would pay for that, and a minutely rate. Oh, goodness gracious.
Yeah.
Don't ride the e-bike in
We
Chicago.
biked for like 90 minutes. We were gone for a while.
I think if we would have done it longer than 3 hours, we would have saved money.
Yeah, so that
But
was
we did not do that.
craziness. That was the most expensive bike ride I've ever been on. It was about $10, $10 a mile.
That's insane.
But we had fun. But listen, we thought it'd be actually, while we were here, we were thinking, we're going to record a podcast. We had a lot of options, a lot of things we wanted to talk about, like different podcast options. But we were like, I don't know which one we're going to do. And the longer we were here, it became very clear. There is a very, very different, even atmosphere
Yeah.
of recognized holiness
Yeah, that's good.
in the city versus in the country.
Mm-hmm.
And I think when you're here in the city, and listen, this is speaking from someone who does not live in the city, but we have lived here for a number of years. You can feel the lack of a sensitivity
Yeah.
to holiness.
You're totally desensitized to a lot of
and
things.
Let me explain what I mean by that, because some people are listening to this and you're like, well, yeah, there's just a lot of non-believers everywhere. You know, cities are full of people. There's more people. There's probably more people who aren't Christians. Completely agree.
Mm-hmm.
But it was not that long ago in the world where even unbelievers understood
Yeah.
there were certain things that were acceptable and not acceptable in the world. Like
Yeah.
our world as a world, or as we can just talk about our country. We're celebrating soon 250 years as a nation.
Yeah.
It was not that long ago. Let's go back 50 years.
Yeah. Not even.
Not
really.
even. Where there was a cultural agreement that there were certain things that were not okay. I'll give you an example by this. There are certain sins that the world puts in the front of the house. Everyone can see. We're going to celebrate.
Yeah.
That 50 years ago were hidden in the back closet. Now, is sin still sin, whether it's hidden or exposed? Or like, absolutely.
Yeah.
But you could tell a culture's decline by the things the culture is no longer hiding in the closet,
Yeah.
but instead putting out in the front.
Yeah.
And I think we just experienced a lot of sin nature here in the city.
Sin nature, yeah.
Now, I praise the Lord for the people we know that are believers here.
I was just going to say
that are doing so much good work.
What a calling
being
it is.
Evangelizing the city. I think of like one of our old pastors, Rafe Chenery, and his wife, Sarah.
Yeah, if you like are interested in evangelism in cities, or if you like are not really sure where you're at on all the things we're talking about on this podcast, you should look up Rafe's podcast. Yeah, this is like his mission.
It's called The Christian Optimist. We can link it in the show notes.
He's so good at this.
He's just a pod. It's basically looking through the worldview with a very eschatologically hopeful worldview. Like he is pushing forward. He goes, this is my city. This is my mission. It's not just about the city by any means. Yeah. It's a very good podcast.
But I remember him when you worked there, when we were dating. Didn't he like ask you, like, do you feel like God's called you to evangelize in this city? Like, do you feel like you have a heart for ministry in Chicago? And you were like, no.
Yeah. So he was there was an opportunity, and it wasn't, no job was offered to me, but there was an opportunity to pursue probably like an internship or some type of job, more full-time in ministry. I was working at a church that he was pastoring at, kind of doing like operations stuff. Yeah. And the opportunity kind of came like, do I want to stay here? He was kind of asking me. He knew I was going to graduate. He's like, are you staying in the city? Yeah. Basically asking me, hey, like if you want to consider applying for one of these roles, you have to have a deep heart for the city and all that entails. Yeah. And I didn't, and I still don't. Like this is definitely not my mission field. Yeah. I bet you though, if I asked him, the same were true. Like, hey, do you want to go to small town Fremont, Michigan, and minister to the needs of that place? Which, by the way, there is just as much sin. Oh yeah, in different those places than in these places, right?
Well, and maybe it's harder because they're all hidden.
And there's an aspect where it's like they're all hidden. But the reason why we want to talk about this idea of we've lost a sensitivity to holiness is because it does show where our world's going. Yeah. Or what's happening in the world. And I think you see it highlighted in the city. And we wrote, it's funny, we wrote down a ton of things that we saw when we were here in Chicago.
Yeah, it did not take that long.
That we were like, wow, this is so interesting. It's really highlighting the lack of cultural holiness. And again, don't hear me like 50 years ago, everyone was a Christian. That's not what I'm saying. Yeah. But we did understand that certain things were wrong and were shameful and should be shameful. This is why they were kept hidden. Right. But when you're in the city, at least right now, we're here. We're like, wow, people don't care. We'll start off with this, just giving kind of an example. And the reason why we're going to share these things with you is twofold. One, it's hopefully a convicting idea of where am I not sensitive to holiness? We might say, list some of these things, and you're like, oh, yeah, I didn't really think about that, but that is in my area.
Well, that's kind of what happened with me and you.
Yeah.
You kind of were like, we should talk about some things on our podcast about like, I don't remember what the topic was that you said, like worldly things. And I was like, I don't really find myself thinking about that often. And then the first example we're going to share, I literally was like, oh my gosh, this is ridiculous. And you were like, that's what I was talking about. We need to talk about this on the podcast.
Yeah. So we went to Walgreens. We need to get a couple things right when we got to Chicago. And literally right in the pharmacy section, a couple...
Like, it was by the chapstick.
It was like, this is how it looks, right? There's chapstick, there's like Band-Aids, there's candy, all in this row, and there's abortion pills.
Yeah.
Right there.
I forget what brand it was.
And here's the thing. One aisle over, there's certain products like deodorant and shaving cream that you have to ask for, you have to get a key to open. Yeah. But then in this aisle, there's abortion pills that you can just pull. You pulled one right off to read it. Like, what am I looking at here? And
because we're in Chicago, it was in a clear case. So when you pay for it, they'll like have to take the case off. But
there's no age restriction on it.
Yeah, no age. Well,
you can just.
No. It might say on there like.
Oh, I'm sure there's some.
Don't use if you're not 21. But there was no like. You could have bought that. Yeah, for sure. Just anybody could have bought that.
Yeah, exactly. You can't buy a lottery ticket. Yeah. Unless you're 21, I think in the city. I could be wrong. It could be 18. I'm pretty sure it's 21. But you could buy abortion pills.
Yeah, that's insane.
And you can just grab them and grab your chapstick and grab your candy all within 5 feet of each other, just sitting there on display.
It was insane. I literally, and I like started reading the back of it, looking it up, being like, is this really what I think it is? Like, is this really Yeah. Yeah.
Let me just be clear though. I don't want to, I'm going to be careful not to mince words. You basically, in Walgreens, can buy, I think it was $20 or something like that. It wasn't that
I
expensive.
didn't even look at how much it was.
It was under $40.
It was under $40.
I remember seeing it and thinking this is not expensive.
Yeah.
This is not hard to get. you can just buy quick access to murdering your child. There's no ifs, ands, or buts about what that is. Not going to mince words there.
This is not the podcast where we're going to go through what that pill is and what it's actually doing. But
you can buy a pill that will destroy a life inside of a body at Walgreens at any time of day.
Yeah, it was literally like, it's heartbreaking.
Yeah.
It's heartbreaking to think like there's a level of our shame with our sin that is a good thing. I remember learning about, like, thinking about this, like, in the garden. It's a good thing that when Adam and Eve sinned, they had the feeling that they needed to hide. Now, is it a good thing when we need to sit in our shame? No. But there's a level of, like, you need to go to a counter and ask somebody for this pill, and they know what you're doing. Yeah. Versus this, just like...
Well, I'll give you an example.
It's all... You can just do it on your own. No community. Yeah. Nobody else speaking into your life. You can just...
No barriers.
No barriers. You get to do what you want to do.
There's no smoking advertisements on TV in the United States. It's illegal. And if you buy a pack of cigarettes, or even sometimes cigars from different shops, you will see all of these crazy labels on what lung cancer looks like.
Right.
General surgeon's warning, all these different things, how bad it is for you. This package was packaged with like some light green and purple colors.
It was pink.
It was advertising what it does. Yeah. It was like take this and your problems go away.
Yeah, that is what it is. Yeah.
But they're showing us black lungs. But don't buy these cigarettes. Remember what you're going to do, because, you know, our country's gone, we need to make sure people understand what's happening before they do that.
Yeah.
But it's not the same about murdering your kids.
Yeah.
We have just become a very desensitized culture to the holiness of God.
Yeah. And obviously, like, there's so much grace and forgiveness at the foot of the cross. This is unfortunately not the podcast where we're going to, like, go into how do you actually deal with that girl and help her. Like, what are her options? This is not that podcast. But just think about, like, is that something you're just, like, comfortable with seeing on display? Like, I'm thinking about my nieces or people that are, like, or our kids one day. If Atticus is like, hey, Mom, what's that? How do I explain that? Like, we have to explain that to our kids, the things that they're just seeing in the grocery store.
Yeah, which is something
when they get their candy. That's ridiculous.
It's something else that's interesting, kind of maybe moving to another thing. I've been watching the families in the city.
Yeah.
And it just seems harder. And again, I am not. There are I know families here with their kids, and they're like raising kids that love the Lord, doing amazing things. I'm speaking from my own deficiencies. I could not imagine being a parent.
I could not.
Having become very used to living where we live, being a parent in the city.
Specifically with the children we have. Like, we were out to dinner last night.
One of our sons is just like really sensitive to like loud noise, and we were at a ramen restaurant, and the music was really loud, and we saw a family with some kids,
2 girls,
and I'm thinking like, man, they're just like having a good time. And I'm
they're
like,
used to it.
Atticus could not do this.
Yeah, I'm like, I would not be able to disciple. That's what it is. God's called us to disciple our children, and that would be significantly harder in this city for me.
For sure.
But maybe, like you said, maybe that's my own problem. But there's something really different about that.
I do even think anyone who, maybe someone's listening to this and they live in a major city and they're a believer, I do think they would agree that if all things are the same, there is more of an uphill battle trying to teach your kids who the Lord is, and have them have a personal burden to fight sin in their life when you're living around all the sin in the world.
Yeah.
At a more higher level on display.
Celebrated.
I do think, I don't think people that are listening to this would disagree that it's harder. Now, some of them might say, we think it's better. We have these opportunities. And I'm like, great, praise the Lord.
Yeah.
But I definitely think it's harder. Like, they are fighting uphill battles. Like, we were walking last night. We were waiting to go into the ramen restaurant. And there's a weird hole in the wall adult video store.
Oh, my goodness. I forgot about that.
And it's kind of funny, though. Like, I'm thinking about,
it's like a secret door.
Some of our family and their kids, and they're very curious and they're asking questions like, "What is that?" Like,
and they can read.
I saw that right there. I'm like, "What is that?" I'm like, "Oh, I know what that is now."
Well, there's a giant sign that says, "Yeah."
But even that was more hidden.
It was hidden
in the corner and tucked to the side.
No windows.
Than like what we saw at Walgreens.
Right.
Which is just kind of wild to me.
Yeah, that is crazy.
But it's just interesting because one of those is. Come here for pleasure, and the other one is if you want any pleasure in your life, come here because this is going to stop you.
Yeah.
And so we just found that really, really interesting.
Oh, that's crazy.
But we actually met an interesting guy
Oh my goodness, I want to talk about it.
So there's this place called the Starbucks Reserve. I think there's like a few of them in the country or the world. They're these massive Starbucks restaurants where they have different levels, and on each level they're doing different things. Some of them they're roasting, some of them they're doing experimental drinks. And I shouldn't say we met right away. We were sitting at the bar, like in front of where they're making all the coffee.
And to be fair,
one guy working there named Danny. Go ahead. You wanted to talk.
I want to tell the story.
Okay, go ahead.
Well, first shout out, we got 2 free drinks. This guy's kind of sitting there with us for a while because we're just sitting at the bar. We didn't order anything. We see a barista pass our test. We get 2 free drinks from her. So we've been in front of this guy for a while.
Yeah, we watched her make these drinks, and the lady is like, "Hey, you get to give these away now." And she like goes right because we're right there.
Right in
like,
front of her.
You guys want free drinks? And I'm like, we were right about to leave. I was like, yes, we would love free
They were
drinks.
great. But
Crazy weird drinks too.
this guy that was kind of working there too was making all the drinks in front of us. We kind of start talking to him, and I don't know if he asks where we're from. We say like we used to live in the city, and he's like, "Oh, I just moved here a few weeks ago." And I'm like, "Well, did you move here to work at the Starbucks?" Because kind of in my head, I'm like, that's stupid. Why'd you move to Chicago just to work at Starbucks? But he goes, "Well, I actually am from northern Indiana, and I just had to get out of there because it's getting so scary." And I'm just like, me and you didn't say anything. He's
I'm
like,
wondering. I'm wondering.
I know. I'm like, what is he
He
talking
said he's
about?
from Northwest Indiana, and I'm like, okay, so are you from Gary? Yeah, I would leave that area too. That's pretty scary, Gary, Indiana. But he didn't say right away.
Then he just kind of pauses, and I think he was kind of like, oh, they're not saying anything. He's like, well, I just had to move to a blue state or a blue city. And so.
And by the way, this guy is not a heterosexual male.
Oh, no. No. That was very obvious.
He was a very sweet guy. Mm-hmm. But you could tell that he was not, he did not know that he was talking to us. And like, we are like, bro, we are not from the same area. We live in a very red
and
spot in a state.
So at first we were kind of, for like probably an hour, me and you were kind of talking about it. Like, I can't believe that. That's crazy. And then finally, like halfway through the day, I'm like, well, the interesting part of that is we live in a country where, yeah, you don't like what's going on in your state. Good for him. He moved to a different state.
Yeah. Shout out to Danny for feeling one way and not being like, oh, I just have to sit here.
I'm a victim.
He actually decided, even if we disagree.
Yeah.
He's like, I am going to do something about it. I'm going to live somewhere where there's people who share my values. Now, we would disagree with probably a lot of those values, but I at least was encouraged that someone was like, I'm going to just take some ownership in my life and go be here. And you made the comment, you're like, yeah, people can just live with people that they want to live by.
Yeah.
And I'm like, yeah, in Chicago and other places like it, we'll have the consequences of those ideas and decisions, and we will have the consequences of our ideas and decisions. Yeah. I think I like my odds. But even still, it was just interesting meeting him. He was actually a breath of fresh air in the city.
It was. Well, yeah, he was really kind, but also just like that idea of praise God. That's his grace that we get to like. I mean, where we lived in Maryland was great. Like, we had a great community. Mm-hmm. But I'm just thinking of, like, where we live even now in Michigan. There's, I think, even a huge difference there of, like, lifestyle and things. And it's God's grace that people do get to live where they want to live. And, like, you have to make those decisions for your families. Yeah.
And, again, I hope we're clear. We're not saying there's an inherent holiness by living outside of the city.
Yeah.
We are saying we do think the further you get away from the city, the more sensitive people are to that holiness, and it still pervades culture.
Yeah.
Let me be very clear. There are so many people in our small towns that we live in or have lived in that are faking Christianity.
Yeah.
They go to church, they look the way they're supposed to look, but they are living deep in sin. Yeah. And it's fake. And that's true of any small town area. So I don't want to hear this. I don't want this idea to come across like, oh, man, the city is forsaken. And we are just the best. Like, that is not true at all. But while we are here, we did realize there is a culture. We see it more on display. There is a cultural sensitivity to holiness that is lacking when you're in a place like cities. And I think one of the other things that we saw like, very, very clear in the city, a obvious display of sinful sexuality.
Yeah.
I mean,
we're like
from places we would eat and sit and just overhear conversations.
Oh my
goodness.
Like,
we overhear a guy interviewing for a job and he's talking to this owner of a business or something. And he was just talking about, like, he just loves the work environment and the fluid sexuality and all these things. And I'm just thinking, man, like, this is wild. Like, I would never hear that where I live. Now, people might live that way, talk that way, believe that way. Again, this isn't a podcast about where does sin lie more.
Yeah.
It's about the sensitivity that we're losing
Yeah.
to those things. Like, he was just, that was a selling point for him to work at this company.
Yeah. He said his last boss was super black and white in his thinking, and he needed to be somewhere where he could live in the gray area, were his words. And I was just like,
I didn't hear that.
How?
You were closer to them. I did not hear that.
I also have a
so
very bad eavesdropping. What is that called?
So
sin.
speaking
That's
about
my own
deep
sin.
sin,
Yeah, that's a sin issue.
every time we go somewhere, my wife is spying on people. So this
It's
was
very easy in
It was a
Chicago.
fun trip for her. She was like,
But that's
wow.
the thing, like, nobody. Anyways, that's a different conversation. It was just so interesting, his conversation. Like, yeah, it
we
was.
were on a bike ride. I think we passed more than one throuple,
Yeah, just like everybody holding hands.
but not just like, oh, we're friends. Like they're
Oh, no,
clearly
very clearly in a
romantic
relationship. Yeah.
relationship. It's just kind of crazy. We we made it to the end of our bike ride. And we go in kind of over to the beach to take a picture of the
trail.
city, and we see this weird gazebo thing.
It's supposed to be an art piece.
Yeah, and then you start looking at it, and there's
I'm
weird symbols,
reading-
and then you're reading the sign there, and you're like, oh, this is about pagan rituals.
Yeah,
Like,
it was. Yeah, we don't need to get into it, but like literally just like on display everywhere is like, and I'm sure they have that in other places. It's just the point of like, we've celebrated so many different things at this point that everything is just yeah. You can't celebrate everything. You're going to be desensitized to something, and we've become desensitized to Christ because we're busy celebrating too many other things.
Well, that's the reason why we're trying to hit home, not like sin versus sin, city versus rural area. It's what we've become desensitized to. And a lot of that's just the nature of being in a large population of people.
Yeah.
Like we were even talking about how like there's not really quiet here.
Yeah.
Like we went into one restaurant and it was very quiet. There was like no music.
Yeah.
People were very soft spoken. We were like, this is kind of refreshing because even this morning we were up at like 6:30 on a walk on a Saturday morning. There's no one out
On the Riverwalk.
and you could just still hear the underlying rumble of the city.
There's still sirens. There's still tons of
and so
geese and
we've even been, I imagine even in the city there's a desensitization to the noise and to things that we were supposed to be sensitive to, like what does it look like to rest? Like this is going to be harder, and the more parades you have in the city about like sexuality.
yeah. Praise
the
God we
more
didn't come in June.
different things that are going on, right? The more celebrations of these things and those things, the more policies that are getting put through, people are becoming more and more it's becoming more, it's normal. In the city, there's going to be more sin that is normalized at a large scale.
Yeah.
And so
Well-
that becomes a hard thing when you're talking about what does it look like. Again, this is what the podcast is about. What does it look like to fight for personal holiness, knowing that, by the way, we don't produce that in ourselves, right?
Yeah.
Maybe there is extra measures of grace producing holiness and sanctification in believers in the city. Christ could certainly do that. But I think about my own life. How hard is it to fight sin in my own life, in my own town, when it's not so pervasive and in front of me, and it's not maybe so tempting and enticing?
Yeah.
But here, it's so much different.
Yeah.
I feel like you were going to say something.
Oh, I think I was just going to say, like, it is crazy how we haven't been to Chicago in 5 years, but when we lived here for 4 years, it's like, I remember, like, when we came back, immediately I was like, I could not handle the smells that were here in the city this week, like the noise. I'm like, this is very overstimulating for me. And it wasn't that way when I lived here.
No,
like,
and I
I
don't think
definitely got desensitized to the smell of weed. Like, we walked past someone smoking a cigarette, and I'm like, that's actually refreshing because it's not the smell of weed, you know? Like, the fact that there's just, like, so much stimulus in every capacity here. And, yeah, that's just, like, I definitely was desensitized to it when I was living here because you don't have a choice. You have to walk to where you want to go. You have to walk past the smells and the people and the, you know? And, like, the first homeless person who asked us for money this week, I was like, whoa, I was not, like, I forgot about all of the things.
Yeah. It's interesting because when we lived here, I don't think I thought any of this stuff.
I definitely did
Like, not even like the smells and the noise. Like, I don't think I had a thought in my mind about
Oh, this is not
city.
holy.
the city is just different. Like,
Yeah.
I enjoyed it.
Yeah.
And let me be clear, we had a great time.
Oh,
here
it was
this
so
weekend.
fun.
The food we did, so like it was. There's something to say about the city that's so nice. Like it is actually easier to be healthy here.
Oh yeah.
So much healthier food here.
You have to walk everywhere.
You're walking everywhere. We're biking everywhere. We were on the sun. By the way, like in my opinion, if you're talking about major cities, you're not gonna have a better city than Chicago.
Oh, it's the best. It was
the
great.
food is amazing. The transportation is easy.
So
It's
easy.
definitely the cleanest
Definitely
city
clean.
out of all the cities. It's definitely the friendliest city out of all the cities.
Very friendly.
There's a giant beach and lake and like giant bike trail, 18 and a half miles right next to the city. Like,
we did
there's
the
not a
whole
city
thing
like
almost.
that.
Yeah.
There's like, even if you're living here, like there's golf courses here. You don't have, there's parks here. It's not like New York. Chicago's great.
Yeah.
But it does, being here, and then part of this is, I'm a pastor,
Yeah.
and you're in ministry. Like, you don't work for our church, but you do counseling.
Well,
at our
even
church,
just
and
like being a mom, thinking through that lens.
I'm constantly thinking about the people that I shepherd
Mm-hmm.
and are a part of. And when I'm here, I'm thinking, okay, this is just different.
Yeah.
And so being here kind of helped remind us that in our own hearts, right? This is where we're leaving the city and going back to our own lives, right? We do have a lack of sensitivity to the holiness of God personally.
Yeah.
And that is true no matter where you live. And that's kind of where, at the end of the day, at the end of this podcast, we want to bring it back to. And the challenge is us to think and pray about, like, what does it look like to live out Philippians 4, where we're thinking through, hey, whatever is true, whatever is good, whatever is lovely, whatever is commendable, whatever is worthy of praise, think on these things.
Yeah, for sure.
And I do think a lot of that it can be presented as harder in a place where it's almost like, we're here. It's Babylon. There's pagan worship. And to be the faithful, right, to be Daniel and his friends, takes an extra level of sensitivity to the holiness of God.
Yeah, that's true.
And that is also very much true in your small towns, right?
Yeah.
It is different. And I think we're experiencing that in a different way. But that's the challenge we want to have for everyone as we are thinking about, as we were just thinking through this podcast and as we're getting back into the podcast, recording more episodes. It is very important that we concern ourselves with being sensitive to who God is.
Yeah.
And one of his chief attributes that much of who he is flows out of is that he is a God who is holy.
Yeah, that's great. That's so good.
I don't know if you have anything else you want to add to that.
No, I was just going to give a shout out to one of our professors we ran into.
Oh my goodness. That was encouraging.
About that. It was so encouraging. Right when we got here, we went to my favorite restaurant,
Soul Taco,
which is right by our college, Moody. And we ran into Dr. Steven Sanchez, who, it was fun. He remembered both of us. We were pretty involved. Like, he was pretty involved with both of our friend groups in college. And he knew who we were. And I remember, like, he was kind of asking us, like, what we're doing now. And we talked about what you were doing. And then he was like, well, what do you do? And I was like, well, I'm, a wife and a mom. And, like, we do counseling together. And he said, good job. He said, you're doing exactly what God has asked you to do, or something like that. Yeah. And it was really encouraging to be like, one, he probably doesn't find a lot of Moody students who are actually in ministry. Like, I think he was encouraged. Like, you were encouraging him, like, hey, thanks for pouring into us. Like, what you did, like, helped prepare us for ministry. But also just for him to say, like, good job. Like, you guys are raising kids who are you're discipling kids who love the Lord. And it was just encouraging to talk to somebody who, like, poured into us in such a different stage of our life.
Yeah, and I imagine that's hard, right? Because he's a professor, so he has kids in his class, kids out of his class. Yeah. He's been teaching at Moody, I want to say, since 2017.
Well, he said you guys, he said to you that you were his first class, and it's been 10 years. So 2016.
Yeah. And so, that's crazy. That's hundreds and hundreds of students. And I'm sure he's connected with a number of them, but there's so many of them that he's never going to know. Yeah. Or never going to see the fruit of. So for us to be able to tell him, hey, we are not perfect people, but we love ministry. Yeah. And a lot of that is because of you. Like, I talk about him and other professors to people on our staff. Like, I remember and so-and-so was teaching us this. And so it was just encouraging to run into him. We kind of were joking, not even that. It was maybe like 20 minutes before. Like, I wonder, what are the odds we'll run into someone we know here? Yeah. It's like probably pretty low. I know we're next to our old school, but we don't know any of the students there. It's been years. And then, of course, he walks in with Classic
His
Dr.
two
Sanchez. He
TAs.
brings two. Is that who it was?
This is TAs, yeah.
Gotcha. I'm like, he's bringing students, paying
Well,
for their lunch.
and that's what was so weird. He was like introducing us to them because she took our picture.
Yeah.
And he was like, these are my students from 10 years ago. And I was like, it was not 10 years ago. And he's like, no, Matt was my first class. And I was like, that's insane.
Yeah. I didn't graduate 10 years ago,
No,
but I
but
did start 10 years ago, which
insane.
is just wild. So
We're old.
Yeah.
We're old.
I think being here in the city, besides the fact that we had an amazing trip, I think it did remind us that we need to be extra. It didn't. I'm not leaving the city going, thank the Lord I don't live in the city. I'm so grateful where we live.
Yeah.
But I am saying, thank you, Lord, for shining a spotlight on the basement of my soul and revealing to me where I actually lack a sensitivity to who you are. And I encouraged our church last week done the same thing. And I would encourage anyone listening to our podcast today to do the same thing as well. Ask the Lord where it is he knows there is change and growth that needs to happen in your life and a sensitivity to who he is.
Yeah.
And if you pray that prayer, I'm gonna assume that God's gonna answer that prayer because that's what the Holy Spirit does. Mm-hmm. But it's gonna be hard.
Yeah,
when you see the mirror and your sin is revealed, it does become hard to then go, okay, God has, by the grace of God, he has given me what I need. He has shown me my sin. And he will give me the grace to do it, to fight my sin. Mm-hmm. We need Christ to do that. Am I going to fight against this, or am I going to lean into what the Spirit of God is doing?
Yeah.
And so I would encourage you all, as you hopefully continue to listen to our podcast. We love doing this. We're glad we took a little break. We needed it. We are super excited about the future of our podcast. We have more episodes to record. But even as we go through, our podcast is called The Armory for a reason. Armories are where weapons are kept for war, and we are in a spiritual war. And the beginning of that war starts with understanding who our enemy is and who our God is. And our God is holy. And because of that, and if we are in Christ, we are called holy.
Yeah.
Does that mean we always exude holiness in everything we do? No. Does that mean that there's grace for tomorrow because we are no longer the old man, but we are the new man, and we can walk in the forgiveness that comes from the cross? Yes.
Yeah.
And so my prayer is that is encouraging to us, and it's also challenging to us. We don't want to just be encouragers alone. Grace is needed, but truth is also very necessary. And so we hope this podcast encourages someone to say, hey, maybe there's areas in my life where I have become desensitized to the sin of this world and as well as the holiness of God.
Yeah. That's so good.
Should we end there?
We should end there.
Awesome.
I shouldn't even be here. You should just be talking.
Not true. Listen, we are so excited to continue this podcast, and we hope to see you guys soon.
Bye.